Well, hello and welcome. My name is India Downs-LeGuen, and I am the Executive Director here at Hoffman Center for the Arts. How's the sound?
Great.
Pretty good. Thank you all so much for your patience. It is very unusual for us to have a sold-out event on a Wednesday afternoon. So, kudos to all of you. We are here for a conversation with Dina Taylor, editor of When a Woman Tells the Truth, Writing and Creative Work by Women Over 80. Along with Taylor, several local women all over the age of 80 will read their favorite pieces from the anthology, and poet Glenna Cook will read her work in the book as well. Here to tell us more about the readers in this incredible book is Julianne Johnson.
Yay!
Pause for applause. Best friend of Dina Taylor and the person responsible for organizing this event. And she actually handed me a packet with the run of show, which is usually my job, so I really appreciated that. Julianne Johnson moved to Manzanita in 1992 on her 50th birthday. In the first 10 years, newly arrived neighbors, ambitious for this community, launched 20 new private nonprofit organizations.
Wow.
Julianne left fingerprints on these startups, creating strategic plans and serving on boards of directors and city committees. You can thank her for the rolled curves on Laneda Avenue. She also knew our founders, Lloyd and Myrtle Hoffman, and was a regular visitor of theirs. Now Julianne spends her time loving Manzanita and living for months at a time in Marseille, France, and Kapa'a, Kauai. Julianne, thank you so much for all your hard work and passion and putting this together. And I'm going to turn it over to you so we can hear more about the readers and the anthology.
All right.
Forgive me, I always have to give up a little bit of an emotional when I'm talking to my favorite people.
I hear you.
Good, too bad. I said, forgive me, I usually have to get over a little bit of an emotional hump when I'm talking in front of my favorite friends and family and neighbors. So you saw it. Might happen again. Thank you, India, for all the help that you and your staff have given us here. It's been absolutely amazing. Vera Wildauer opened the doors for us, and then boom, staff, names I don't even know, made the poster, did this, did that, took care of everything. It's been magnificent. Besides her team at the Hoff, there are others who've been supporting this. Holly at Cloud and Leaf, who's on the book table. Marcia at the entry. Kay and Carrie, who are here to sell one of our contributors and readers' poetry books, Glenna's poetry books. They're volunteers and dear friends of mine who've helped set up and will help break down. And about breaking down, we have a little surprise for you. All to stay and mingle with us after the Q&A, sip a glass of wine or a soft drink, and enjoy a nibble. So there's a nibble crew back there. But they've kept it. Yeah. So please decide to stay and give autographs and tell stories. We also have a videographer in the room, and that's thanks to Laura Olson, who's the editor of the Tillamook County Pioneer. And when Don Backman completes his work on the video, it will be uploaded to the Tillamook County Pioneer YouTube page for all in perpetuity. How about that? So today we have Dina Taylor, who's the co-editor of this anthology, and two contributors. I'm one, Glenna is one, you'll meet her later. The real magic this afternoon, and what may have brought this crowd here, is this illustrious group, oh my God, of local women who stepped up to read when I invited them. They are reading pieces that they didn't even write. Each one received a copy of the book, then selected pieces that mean something to each of them. Here is what Laura Swanson had to say about this group. Laura remembers the editor of Tillamook County Pioneer. And it's one of the important places where we get our news around here. Laura said, "These women are some of our icons of grace, power, and lives well lived." Well, that's all true. Several of our mentors and greatly admired women are in this group. And heck yes, we all need to hear when a woman tells the truth. This is bound to be one of those you'll wish you had been there moments at the Hoffman Center. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Thank you, Laura. When it came down to doing some public relations work here, I was down and out with COVID, and besides, I'm not so good at that. So I asked my good friend Lorraine Ortiz to step in, and wow, this is what she said. What happens when women tell the truth? Find out at a special event at the Hoffman Center, featuring Dina Taylor and her latest book, When a Woman Tells the Truth, an anthology of creative works and writings about life by women over 80. Along with Taylor, local women all over 80 will read their favorite pieces from this anthology, and that includes Liz Cole, Claudia Johnson, myself, Linda Kozlowski, Ann Morgan, and Leela Salmon. Glenna Cook, a poet from Puyallup, Washington, will read her selections from the book. So Dina's been a regular visitor to Manzanita for the 30 plus years that I've lived here. She lives in Santa Cruz. She's lived there for over 5 decades. And she's filled her post-retirement years with activism, writing, extensive international travel, and obtaining her pilot's license and saying yes to unusual opportunities of all kinds from her circle of lifelong friends. She said, I turned 80 in March of 2021 and was talking to a friend who had also recently turned 80. We discussed what that milestone meant to us, and we wondered what other women were going through. So we decided to find out, and this book project was born. The book is filled with funny, heartbreaking, tender, sly, angry, and loving stories, poems, essays, and memoirs by poets, professors, and Buddhists, theater directors, French teachers, jewelry artists, union organizers, midwives, hospice workers, all women over 80. The honesty, the wisdom, and the humor contained in the book pages portray rich lives whose roots are still growing into the future. So now I'd like to introduce Dina. Now you know about the book, you know about our readers. This is about Dina. When a woman tells the truth, it's Dina's 9th published book. Other titles include Exclamation Points, collected poems. She co-authored with her daughter Becky, Tell Me the Number Before Infinity, the story of a girl with a quirky mind, an eccentric family, and oh yes, a disability. And she's also written several books on women's issues. She completed her graduate studies at Rutgers in the School of Social Work, and she's retired from careers in social work and education. She's a poet, an author, and an editor of anthologies. She's an extraordinary traveler. We've been to 7 countries together, but that doesn't count all the ones I've been to or all the ones she's been to. She's always ready for an adventure, and she's the best friend of 60 plus years that any girl could hope to have. Yeah. There you go, Dina.
Yeah.
Thanks, Julie. How's this? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so Julie and I met at the University of Oregon so about 60 years ago. Yeah, it has been nice. Oh, and when you get a chance, check out these earrings that she had made for me. They're pictures of this.
The cover of the book.
What?
The cover of the book.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to read 3 poems. The first one is Transitions. Transition, singular. It was wrenching to leave the house, deep in the redwoods, made of redwood. My parents' place at the end of the road, built by them 50 years ago, so unique. The 2-story bookcase with a hidden ladder, the pull-out table and wrought iron staircase, and buried under the tile floor near the fireplace, a time capsule with family photos, my 2-page history of the world, and a joint. Was I deserting it, their dream, Dad died first, then Ma at 81, and I moved in. 21 years of quiet beauty, and now I'm 81. Was I going to die there too? Stacking wood, chopping kindling, wildfire danger, fierce tree-twisting winds, problems with the water system, and checking my shoes for scorpions. So now I'm in town, the secluded sky-lit cottage. I can vacuum in 10 minutes. Sweet garden too, with towering purple potato vine, 6 tiny tomato plants, 2 blocks from friends, less than a mile from my daughter, who can walk here with her crutches along the river path. My landlady gives me the newspaper. I give her the New Yorker. We have so many bookmarks in here. Okay, my daughter's apartment. On the wall are photos of her sister and 2 nephews, her great-great-grandmother in her 90s, a painting I did, tomatoes in a glass bowl. I am here while she takes a shower, not wanting her to be alone, less than 48 hours after she passed out at the dinner table on Thanksgiving. They couldn't find anything wrong in the ER. Stress, dehydration maybe. But now death is on my mind. Hers, mine, all of us, of course. And the last one is Sleepless. A song on the radio at 2 a.m. Sooner or later we'll all be pushing up little flowers. The chorus over and over. I'm not afraid of death anymore. 80 now, and a good life it's been. How much longer might I have? 1 day? 3 years? 15? It's said that some people may live to be 120, but not 130. I once dreamt I'd be 137. It's something of a miracle that we get born at all. And now I'd like to introduce Julie. This is what Claudia Johnson said about her. She is a force of nature. For example, she brought a world-class exhibit to NCRD in Nehalem honoring Anne Frank in 1993. It was stunning. We were stunned. She travels the world and she brings the world to us. Her ability to bring together these octogenarian women to speak our minds is yet another example of her incredible expertise in bringing it all home. Okay, you're on.
I'm really excited to be here and to have welcomed my sister friend Dina, her contributor, Glenna Cook, and my girlfriends. This illustrious group of over 80s. You're illustrious. Each one is so accomplished in her own right and generously agreed to read the writings of someone else. Let me introduce myself. Almost everybody here knows me. You know, we live in a fishbowl here in our community. There's one thing that many of you know about me. I'll get emotional. But for others, it will be a surprise. In 2019, when I was 76, my 56-year-old son found me. Life has been a joyride ever since. So, talking about joyrides, I will read my piece in here, which is titled, I Want to Be 80 Forever. This is a reflection on how playful and carefree and joyful retirement can be, with time to connect with childhood schoolmates and nurture new friendships and new family. Reluctant to say no, my response is usually, if not now, when? The urgency in that message derives from the news that comes weekly, if not daily, of another fall, another bad diagnosis, another death of young people who are my age. There is a sad cost of growing old, staying topside, the cost of losing those not so fortunate. So here's my piece about glorying in the fortune of retirement, and it's called I Want to Be 80 Forever. Were you like me, a teen in the mid-50s, twirling with Alice Lawn net petticoats as I jitterbugged to rock around the clock? Dashing from an after-school club meeting to a talent show rehearsal to a pep club section in the high school football stadium on Friday nights, movies, dances, summer picnics at the beach, ski boat adventures on the nearby lake, roaming the vast sand dunes in a homemade stripped-down sand buggy, volunteer for special banquets, volunteer Red Cross swim instructor at the public pool, slumber parties in an attic at the beach, in a barn, in the backyard, staying up all night, whispering secrets and giggling loud enough to get the repeated shout from a parent to quiet down and go to sleep. 80 feels the same way, twirling from one memorable and fun invitation to the next. As my niece Becky said as a small child, we should, quote, enjoy every crumb of every minute of every day. That describes at 80 for me. Part of the go, go, go at this age is fueled by a keen awareness of, if not now, when? Will there be a next time? The year was packed with a lot of planned gallivanting. 3 months in Marseille, where I walked 3 to 5 miles daily and earned an intermediate level in my French. I swam laps in a marvelous pool 3 times a week. Then a week in Santa Cruz to celebrate the 50th birthday of that Every Crumb author, niece Becky. And a week in my hometown on the South Oregon coast where my classmates, some on walkers and in wheelchairs, others still hiking, met for a day-long picnic of telling stories, maybe they were lies, reminiscing and laughing. One bonus of this healthy, long-lived life is reconnecting with high school and childhood friends. While we knew where so-and-so was, we had no time, what with work and kids and partners, to enrich our friendships for years and years. Now, we have time, as we did when we were teenagers. I'm always surprised by the call that invites me to drive an hour or so for lunch with a schoolmate, or it comes from someone who has just arrived in my beach town, eager for a visit. It is so easy to fall back into that trusted and vulnerable friendship where you can reminisce, ask questions and be asked, be honest and open, and hoot and holler about a particular memory of a crazy time in our shared youth. It is a richness in this tapestry of life that I was not expecting. This is the benefit. The cost? Witnessing and feeling the loss of so many whom we outlive. Sometimes the news has a meager impact. The news of a death has a meager impact. Yes, that's part of being alive. Sometimes the news knocks me flat. Here are my antidotes. Long beach walks, yoga, hikes, bicycling, lap swimming. In between, laze around, read a lot of books, and count my list of chores to do. Playing with the grandgirls, ages 8 and 5, gets in the way of getting chores done. When they stay with me at the beach between Christmas and New Year's, they are human alarm clocks crawling into my bed for extra snuggles each morning. Then I'm full on, oh my God, pool time, baking, juicing fruit, sewing monkey dolls from socks, decorating cookies, splashing in creeks that rush to the ocean, sand in every seam and pocket. I'm so grateful when 7:30 rolls around and we can slow down and get ready for bed. They snuggle into their beds. I crash into mine. It takes me about a week to recover, but I want to be 80 forever. I want to enjoy every crumb of every minute of every life, of every day. I want to live my life in full bloom.
Sit down. Glenna Cook moved for many years in Tacoma to Puyallup. I've been practicing how to say it. I know. Puyallup. She's been living with diagnosed Parkinson's for 10 years. That's a disciplined lifestyle with regular exercise to slow down the progress of the disease. She's become an advocate for others with this disease. She's a published poet, and you can buy one of her books at the table in the back in the other room. Glenna will read 2 of her poems in the book. Welcome, Glenna.
Thank you. In the retirement community where I have an independent apartment, we have a continental breakfast in the bistro. A lot of people just come down and get their food and go up into their apartment. But there's a group of us that get together. We've just added tables until we have now 4 tables long. And then we sometimes have to squish together. We call ourselves the Breakfast Club. And usually somebody comes with some senior jokes. And I have been, ever since it entered my mailbox, bringing this and reading a couple pages of some wisdom, and they have been delighted to hear it. So, yeah, we're proceeding slowly. Just before I turned 80, I had this feeling that my life was going to change. I had no idea what was ahead of me. But 6 days after my 80th birthday party, my son called with the news that he had stage 4 colon cancer, and he was gone less than 2 months after that. The next, my husband died 2 years later in 2018. My brother died in 2019. My daughter-in-law, who was the wife of the son who died in 2020. I published 3 books in my 80s. One came out in 2017, Threshold. One came out in 2022, and one came out just 2 weeks ago. I remember reading that Donald Hall said, and I don't know if you all know, but he's a famous poet. I don't know if he's still alive. He said, you can't write poems after 80. That got to me. Shapes of time. I used to think my ankles were the best looking part of me. Slim as flower stems with a classy knob. I have a vision problem. Knob of bling sporting each side. Now, at certain times, say a hot August day, they resemble 2 bratwurst sausages. My once graceful hands, fingers slender and nimble, performed with ease every task I assigned. Now, enlarged bony knuckles trap rings, have trouble with buttons, and can't open a jar. My dainty rose petal ears could hear the softest whisper. Now, grown like cabbages, they no longer decipher lyrics of songs. My heart, I'm happy to say, with tough, bitter endurance, weathered the times and improved with age. It's etched with scars of grief, thickened to protect, and so loosely assembled that love seeps out through every seam. This cannot be. My son is dying, and I sit in my favorite chair, drink coffee, plan my day, check my phone, watch birds fly in and out of the budding pear tree. This can't be. I should cry, raise my voice in a howl, crumple like a discarded love letter. A new strength courses my blood. A new resolve grips me, pushes me out of bed in the morning, makes me brush my teeth as usual. The sun comes up with its usual flame, sinks down at its appointed time. This cannot be.
I'm fortunate to introduce Claudia Johnson. We're not related, but we think we are. We each grew up with one sister, and we were known in our communities as the Johnson girls. So here we are, two of the Johnson girls. Claudia is no stranger to stage lights. Claudia brought sparkle to local theater in our Nehalem Bay community long before the rest of us, excepting Anne, moved here. Today, her sparkling and serious skills as an astrologer light up many a life. Claudia will read Maud Mahan's poem called Her Choice. Maud, in the middle of her 6th decade, this is the person who wrote the poem that Claudia is going to read, Maud moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. She took a class. She became a writer, a poet, and a popular guest poetry teacher at UC Santa Cruz. Highly revered in the Santa Cruz area, she wrote several poetry books. Claudia will read 2 pieces for you, and I'll introduce the next one when she's got this one done. I need the help. That's so great. See what I mean?
Have the right friend.
Yes, you have the right friends.
Yeah.
You do. Yes, I am an astrologer, but I'm also a minister and have spent a lot of time doing funerals around here, mostly, because I've lived here for almost 50 years. And it has been not the saddest thing in the whole wide world, but the most honorable place to be. It's in the presence of that coming to terms with our humanity, our love for our kids and our family and each other. And that's what I appreciate the most about my life, is having been honored to be a minister. I chose these two poems based on having read everything. I read each and every one of them. I love this book. I love this book. And each of them have to do with death. Go figure. The first one is called Her Choice by Maud Meehan. And Maud writes right under her name, my own Auntie Mame. She called to say goodbye. She said that she was going home. She called, wanted to say thank you for what, I can't remember, my idol when I was a child. She danced her way past disapproving aunties into a world where women were called flappers, adventurous ones who dared to show bare knees, to wear bobbed hair, and in her beaded bag, a long, slim holder, gold for cigarettes. Gaulois from Paris, and a silver flask for gin. At 80, she owned a checkered past of roller coastered years, furs and diamonds, an illustrious career, bittersweet memories of a handsome ne'er-do-well, and then later a steady man, ambitious as herself. She called to say goodbye, and she said, thank you. She said, you know, I've always loved you. I answered, be safe. You know I love you too. Call me when you get back. Oh. You made me do this. Later that day, all phone calls made, the mandatory notes inscribed, the time arrived for sweet relief of hoarded capsules, downed with a crystal glass of the finest scotch. She left with the same panache as she had lived her 80 years. You know, there were those who called it selfish. As for me, those last few years, I could scarcely bear to see her spirit fade a bit, dwindle like her waning world. Goodbye, old girl. And I say, bravo. And then this one is called Holding Hands by Tilly Washburn Shaw. She wrote it for Maggie Berger, 10/29/1992. You know, I'd rather have you living any place but in a poem. Where else, though, after I saw you still breathing, the large almonds of your lids closed, hiding eyes that no longer jumped out to exclaim crossly, your bare shoulders thin under a crisscross of tubes, mouth plastered to a stick, and another black thing you noisily breathed through. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't recognize you. 27 years yet, I'd never seen you with your eyes shut. Still, it comforted me to pull up a chair and sit closer by, your left hand in mine, cold, but as I held it, warmer. Of course, holding hands is nothing we would have done living. No matter between old friends. Oh, thank you so much. Linda Kozlowski found her business success in Portland, finding the best people for the job. In Manzanita, she is often the best person for the job. Founder of our award-winning emergency preparedness organization, the Cardam Board, and a longtime city councilor. She has an internal motor that keeps on keeping on. Linda selected Beyond Me by Judy Davidson to read for you. Judy is a retired marriage and family therapist. She's worked for a newspaper as a substitute math teacher and has written. Welcome, Linda.
Well, it's really interesting. We all got a copy of this book to look through and decide which we wanted to choose. And Julianne was really concerned that we would choose the same one. We didn't. Every one of them were different, and every one, I think, speaks uniquely to the person that's reading it. One of my first picks was the first poem you read. I loved that poem. It was just magnificent, and it spoke to my heart. So I really appreciate you reading it, and it makes it even more impactful that you read it here, so thank you for that. And I hate to follow a preacher. So be kind, please. So it starts out with a excerpt from Rebecca Solnit, Reflections of My Non-Existence. If you don't know Rebecca, she's a really excellent writer. You can often find her actually in The Guardian. I've discovered her with this poem, or with this reading, and I'm extraordinarily impressed with the power of her words. The names of colors are sometimes cages, contained what doesn't belong there. And this is often true of language generally. The words like women, man, child, adult, safe, strong, three, true, black, white, rich, poor. We need the words, but we use them best knowing they are containers for ever spilling over and breaking open. Something is always beyond. That's from Reflections of My Non-Existence. The words that captured me were sometimes is always beyond, cages, and my non-existence. I just watched a program that described the recent launch of the new satellite, the James Webb Space Telescope, which is designed to place and outpace the aging Hubble telescope. If successful, we will be able to see new worlds that we might have only previously imagined, millions and millions of miles away. I have some hiking friends, and they keep talking about dark matter. That scientific language is kind of a mystery to me. In its own way, though, it is actually out there, and there where none have been before. Welcome to the new world, I think to myself. A world beyond our greatest imaginings. I'm having trouble reading too. See, imaginings as prisoners of a limited earth. I am struck by the sense of implied infinity. The universe or multiple universes that they go on and on and on. I feel the contrast with our own sense of human limitations. We are born, we age if we're lucky, and we die, never to return to our old form. Whether we come back as the imitation or reincarnation of ourselves, nobody really knows. Despite religious teachings of being reborn if you're good enough, there's never been definitive proof. The words in Solzhenitsyn's title, Reflection of My Non-Existence, hooked me. At the age of 82, I clearly have to face that my time on this mortal coil and my life as I have come to know it will end. Maybe with a whimper, maybe with a big bang. Who knows? I've been spending the last months or so digging through the archives of my life. Old papers, the documents of lifetime. Many of these items are pointless to save. Manuals from old computers that I don't use anymore. Printouts of every exercise, every recommendation by my previous physical therapist for knee injuries, sore neck, tender shoulders, and an endless supply of articles of interest. This is only a beginning summary of the effusia. It is mostly normal but definitely not essential. Do I really need to keep all this stuff to validate my existence? Couldn't I just be before I come to my day when I'm not be? I ask myself, what will remain of me when I'm gone? I will exist in the memory of others, but for a limited period of time. People I have loved, befriended, worked with, and possibly helped may look back and regret my passing and hold some treasured memories of our times together. But alas, these people will die too. Maybe dark matter, maybe 1 billion miles away in another world, or God forbid, nothing at all. When people talk about God creating man, I always get struck with the puzzle. And who created God? How did it all get started? I scratch my head in puzzlement. I am not unlike the space scientists who are pursuing the answers or non-answers to the deep questions about the origin of the universe or universes. In my persistent pawing through my prized possession, I find a poem I had written to Supak on the 19th anniversary of our lives together, or at least that's what the title says. It was a loving tribute to him and to the positive relationship we had managed to create despite our early struggles. So what gets left is the fact that we have loved, and we have been loved, and really nothing else matters. Especially not the belongings, the trappings, or the glut of our profession, or possessions, instead of constant battle for power, status, and wealth, which will inevitably vanish. Isn't it better to leave a legacy of love? I believe so, but it is a lesson that mankind fails to learn over and over again. I recently have been focusing on my losses, allowing myself to drown in a mutual state of sorrow. I find instead focusing on what I have gained, a life that has some merit, some value, even though ultimately it will be a wisp in the eternal wind of time. If there is a beyond, maybe a piece of me will be there, rejoicing.
Thank you, Linda. Now I get to introduce Ann Morgan. What? Now I get to. Like that?
That's good.
Now I get to introduce Ann Morgan. If you're looking for local pedigree, look no further. Ann's grandfather, a man we know as Sam Reed, saw the potential in Neocani before many of us were born. He built the old Neocani Inn. He and his wife, Beulah, sound familiar? Beulah had twin daughters, Jean and Ruth. Ruth was Ann's mama. And Ann lives on Beulah Reed Road. We all love this historic photo that turns up from time to time and floats around our community. It's the Reed family when the twins were tiny, all gathered on the front porch of the old Neocani Inn, which lost to fire in the late 50s, I think. Ann herself gave her savvy analytical skills to the city of Wheeler as a longtime employee there. Thanks for still being here. Ann selected two pieces. One is called Faster, Faster, Faster Culture Rant by Naomi Newman. She'll read this for you. Naomi isn't the only Renaissance woman in this anthology. Listen to this. Naomi has been a concert singer, a television actor, an improvisational theater director, and a psychotherapist. It's her piece that Ann will read for you now.
Thank you. Margie Kern Marshall and Maud Meehan were very, they both passed on now, but they're much loved in Santa Cruz. You know. Okay, Leela Salmon has served her community wherever she's lived. And she has a football field of awards recognizing her service and her philanthropic contributions. Portland to upstate New York to Manzanita. Her footprints are large, whether as city councilor or mastermind of successful fundraising events. Leila will read an excerpt from a revolutionary memoir by Barbara Jones, another Santa Cruz writer who recently passed away. While Barbara may have been a giggling revolutionary, she reminds us of the serious times we all live and the extraordinary efforts women made to have fulfilling lives. Her second reading is a poem, What a Relief. Oh, forget that. Welcome.
Thank you.
Proof that I'm well over 80, over 90, but thank you for I wish I had known Barbara Jones. It was difficult to choose a piece to read, but when I read this, I was struck by how timely it may be for today as it was for when Barbara wrote it. And I think that, at least for me, it's a piece that many of us would have written had we had the guts. It's excerpt from a revolutionary memoir. The rock misses my head by just a few inches, and I leap back laughing. Mary and I stare at each other and wonder at the damage. Oh, why did no one think of this before? Oh shit, we start running. Neither of us is very fit, and here we are running from the cops. Pigs, we call them. In that faraway time, all cops are pigs. We stumble into an alley that we know leads out to Bedford Street and home. Mary plops down on the stoop and starts to giggle. Is this any way for a revolutionary to act? I giggle too. I live in the luxury of a first-floor, toilet-in-the-hall, railroad flat apartment. Small must be beautiful, because at 600 square feet, this place is the only home I will remember all my life, the only one I will ever love. My whole life happens here. Everything in my life can be traced back to Bedford Street, a place I shared with my children, with each of my 6 lovers, several sequentially, and several in polyandry, and all my political companions. First the intellectuals, then the socialists. Hard on their heels comes the Free University of New York, the Red Squads, the cops, and the narcs. Women's Lib chases all those upstarts out and brings its own kind of madness and transcendence. Then come the hippies and the freaks and communal living. My days are filled with child care, my evenings with classes, and my nights with study. I am obsessed. I love anthropology. I want that degree very badly. But I know not to crack open even an article during the day. The children are too distracting. When Davy is in play school, I take Howard in his little stroller to the cafes that line the village streets. These coffee houses make up a good part of village life. I hear itinerant singers, fresh from the hinterlands and filled with hopes. They play for handouts. When the hat is passed around, I remember giving Bob Dylan $1, a lot of money for me to give, at the end of his songs, because I feel so sorry for him. With that voice, I was sure he would end badly. This was the era of sexism, so pervasive and so demanding that teachers considered it natural to oppress women. It wasn't even considered oppression. According to my college teachers, women did not belong in college. The most outrageous example of this belief occurred every Friday night when Dr. Cerf, my philosophy teacher, held class in his living room. He did not allow women in his home. Since I was a student in the class and the only girl, I had to stand on the porch and listen by the window while he lectured. Women hearing this today will think they are reading about a strange land in a strange country hundreds of years ago, but this took place in the mid-1950s. For most of my young, wild days, the fear of pregnancy looms over everything. No one gives any sympathy, and indeed, in that era, if a girl decides she wants to sleep with a man, the words were girl and man then, she is seen as responsible for whatever happens. The man might chip in some money for an abortion, but it is up to the girl to do everything else. When proof of an abortion can put you in jail, this is a very scary thing to do. This is the part that I thought belonged in today's world. While I never defined myself as a rebel, there are times when others chose to do so. To me, rebel means merely means doing what you wish, even if your culture says no. It is going your own way, especially if that way is against the grain. You choose a different way to behave. It may not be easy, but at least in America, it is still possible most of the time. To rebel is to look at the culture and say, no, no, not me. I do not choose to follow that path.
To say something. I just want to say something about Barbara Jones. Phyllis Chesler who's also in the book, had emailed me and said, would I check up on this friend of hers that lived in Santa Cruz? And I did, and we met quite a few times, and she was writing her memoir, and I asked her if I could read it, and told her about this book that I was working on, and maybe excerpt some of it, and I did, and showed it to her, and she approved of it. It was really wonderful to know her for a little bit. But she was mostly famous for a book that she wrote about women and motorcycles. She was a great motorcyclist. Yeah. So, not a lot of interesting people doing this book.
Thank you, Leila. Thank you, everybody. It's for these pieces you've chosen. It's been wonderful. Well, now I get to introduce my friend Liz Cole, star of stage and television screens long before she made her Manzanita entrance, where she continues to shine brightly, to the delight of all the locals who now claim her as their own. When Liz is on stage, we fill the audience. So maybe we only had to ask you, Liz, today to read. We fill the audience, and I'll tell you a little secret. It's no accident that Liz will close our readings. There's not a single woman here who wanted to come after Liz. Liz is going to read Unadorned by Wilma Marcus Chandler. Wilma is the co-editor with Dina of this anthology. She's a playwright, a poet, theater arts and dance educator, having directed well over 100 productions in the San Francisco Bay Area, and she didn't move there until midlife. So how many more did she do? Let's call her a Renaissance woman. Come and read her piece.
See anything different about me? It is very brave of me to stand up here in front of you. But I will tell you briefly how this happened. About a week ago, I said to myself, well, surely I don't look old enough to be 80. So I got out my makeup kit and started experimenting. Did it work? Do I look like 80 now? Okay.
That's it?
Oh, I haven't shown you this part. Oh, see that's where I wear a little Dutch boy band. Actually, I'm not going to read that poem. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
At least I'm not going to start with that poem. I decided to switch them precisely because I want to read the last poem by the co-editor of this magnificent anthology. So there's a first one before that is called Your White Night. Oh, This is going to prove to you.
She's 80.
Now you.
Yeah, now it does it. Okay. Your White Knight by Laurie Corn, C-O-R-N. This is written, I can't see you at all. This is written for her mother. And she has a note here at the beginning, before the poem starts. She said, my father, a widower, moved to Santa Cruz at age 80. In his last days, I lived with him at the home of his brother Paul in Santa Barbara. This is called Your White Knight. My father pushes himself out of his easy chair, stands for a moment, and wills himself across the floor. Later this evening, he will sit on the edge of the bed, with fumbling fingers unbutton his shirt, button his pajamas, slip under the covers, and rise in the morning to start again. In the hallways of my child's mind, it is 5 o'clock, and he is striding up the front walk after work, my mother peeking secretly through the tall, narrow window by the front door, her hands clasped, and she is saying, oh, just look at him. Isn't he handsome? And I would ask again how they met, and she would answer in her sing-song voice, he was riding a white horse and found me sitting on a green hill. Mom, if you are still watching through your tall secret window, tell me, give me a sign that I'm doing this right. Your White Knight is now my charge, here in the sweet dusk of his life. How do I take care of a knight who is an old man? I am no good at knitting sweaters. I'm worn from worry that he will, that he will fall. There's this little bug that's crawling across the paper. Really? I'm going to, oh.
Is it 80?
I'm going to introduce him to a new universe. Now he's frightened. Okay. Now he's safe. How do I take care of a knight who is an old man? I am no good at knitting sweaters. I'm worn from worry that he will fall, break his hip, choke on a bone. And still, sweet lady, he is the bravest knight who bears his pain in measured steps and tries and pushes on. I can touch him. I am here. But I am not his Guinevere. Now, this is unadorned.
This is by the co-ed.
Hmm?
This is the co-ed.
This is the yes, I was going to say that. Okay, in fact, I said it before, and you said it before. This is, Dina, did you know this? This is the co-editor of this anthology. Yes. This is a fantastic poem. It's by Wilma Marcus Chandler. A small note before the poem starts. This is about a Northern California powwow dance competition. And this is the winning dance. The drummers, a wide circle of serious men, hunch over the shaman drum. Each holds a beater of leather and wood, chants high and fierce, wails the stories and prayers as she, almost 90, enters with a shuffle in her sturdy black shoes and house dress and begins her dance. Each footfall sends up flares of dust from the dancing ground. Her legs lift, knees bend, support hose wrinkling around the full ankles. Her right elbow is crooked, and the old brown plastic purse swings from her wrist, secure and rhythmic. No beads or feather fan, not fancy dress, not jingle dress, no woven shawl. Just her calm, heavy body, her long, gray braid. She is dancing her domain to the unwavering thrum, the rise and fall, the recitative. And when her arms open wide, the old dress sways into the wind. The drummers' voices thin to birdsong. All those who've gathered are silent in gratitude. She flows from right to left, and again right to left, like a river, like a mountain descending to meet the valley below, dancing all the seasons, all the years, dancing the births and the passages, in praise and in reverence, the gritty dancing circle, a dais, the handbag, a talisman, her braid, the sole adornment, shining silver.
This is a good book.
I can't wait to tell Wilma how her poem was read. I can't wait to tell her how well you read that.
Oh.
I mean, because she's a playwright and an actress. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. She's going to love that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it was great working with Wilma. We really had a lot of fun. We got hundreds and hundreds of submissions. So it's, and they're the ones that we chose are just, we just love them. But yours, including yours, of course. You know, it was hard to weed through them all and pick the ones, and then to sort them into different categories and what order they were going to be in. But anyway, enough of me. Do you have any questions for me or anybody? The title?
It'll be a Tillamook County Pioneer YouTube page. TillamookCountyPioneer.net is their web page, and it'll also be there. Tillamook County Pioneer.
When will that be available?
I said a couple weeks, given how many things we have going on. We have another little event that we're doing too, so with some editing in that, I'll send Julianne a link,
Okay.
and we'll be posting it. So.
Great, that'll be great.
Please don't edit out the microphone change.
Be sure that you started. Yeah.
Any other comments or anything?
I just want to express gratitude to each of you, how you've lived your life and the inspiration that you've brought to my life today. And I feel honored and grateful to be with all of you.
Thanks. I see a hand, I don't see a body.
I know I'm removed. I want to wish Liz a belated happy birthday. She just had a birthday just a couple of days ago. I snuck in. Happy birthday, Liz.
Okay, Liz, how old? How old?
What?
How old?
What? Well, I'm not 80.
She doesn't tell.
Okay, no, I will tell you. 83.
Are you gonna tell how old you are?
Somebody asked?
Yeah,
82.
right.
Well, in fact, each of them, how old, as far as the folks that read? Readers. Yeah, the readers.
You wanna know how old the readers were?
I'm the youngest, I think. Oh. I just turned 80 in April.
Okay.
I'm the oldest.
And Leela, you're
Yes.
She's the oldest.
at 95.
Wow.
We have Glenna.
Glenn,
88.
88.
82.
And Claudia.
July.
42.
See?
Oh,
another
42 was a really good age.
82 was a good year.
42 babies here. Lucy, you're 1942 baby.
Lucy.
I think Leela had a question.
I had a question for you. How did you determine that each of these readers was over 80 when we know all who are 80?
That'll be my secret.
We missed Claudia. 80, I'll be 82 in December.
She's all right. She's right.
Yeah.
She's the baby of the 1942.
Yeah.
The baby of the 1942s.
Did you have your birthday?
It was a very good year.
Yeah.
So it's coming up.
Next week.
Anyway, I just want to say we got such a wide variety of submissions. And our pictures on the back of the book kind of exemplify this because Wilma's is perfect. You know, she is a professional photographer that took her picture. It's beautiful. Whereas mine was taken by a friend of mine with her camera, with her phone, in a pub in Ireland with a glass of whiskey.
I sat beside her and I'm cut out of that picture. India had a couple.
Oh, I just had a question. There was when you were looking through the hundreds of submissions you got, I imagine there were some common themes. But were there any themes that you were surprised by that kept on showing up?
There was a lot about, death and having friends and partners die. And we didn't want to have the whole book about that. But it's important. But I don't know, it was interesting how it did fall into different categories, like the wisdom. I have to laugh about Phyllis Chesler's piece, which is in the Women's Wisdom, because one of the things that she advises people to do is read her books. And she lists them all. There were quite a few. There were a lot of funny ones, which was good. There were quite a few sexy ones, which was also nice.
Fond memories.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, now we can have wine.
No, simply as the previous speaker said, thank you for the inspiration in the readers, in the collected poems. To want to be 80 forever, like Julianne.
I really have to thank Julie for doing so much work to organize this.
Yes.
It's great.
Thank you for inviting Glenna down. We really enjoyed the trip and the Manzanita
Yeah.
time here, so.
Oh, well, welcome.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, here's this.
It occurs to me to ask you not to tell anybody in town but I'm actually 83. Because it may mean that the cute guy in the deli won't flirt with me. And I'm serious.
No, I hope you'll stay. We have lots of nibbles back there. There's wine, there are books to buy. There are those questions you wanted to whisper in them for. And Dina will sign.